Okay, based on this band-aid on my chin, what anime am I from? Wrong answers only. Hello everyone, happy days. My name is Daisy Mays and welcome to Mays Days, the series where I show you what happens when you give a manic crossdresser a camera and too much free time. Today, we're going to be talking. So, as you may be able to guess, Drag Wars is still on hiatus for a little bit just because Paradise is presently closed for its pseudo-winter break situation, which means I've got to fill my time with other stuff. So today I would like to talk to you about something that I love to talk about and that everybody is sick of hearing me talk about. At least in my real life, I'm hoping some of you like it. And no, I am not talking about Godspell. Shut up. Today I would like to talk about New Year's resolutions. That's right, I've got a list. This bitch is serious. So something that you can probably tell about me is that I love to overcommit and give myself too much to do and then inevitably crumble and spiral when I pretty expectedly crash and burn. But what you may not know about me is that I do that in every area of my life. It's not just drag, it's not just work, it's not just life, it's everything. It's everything. So I would like to split this video into sort of 3 parts. In one video, but 3 sections, as it were. And I would like to share with you, 1, what my New Year's resolutions were in 2022, and whether or not I accomplished them and to what end. 2, what my resolutions for 2023 are, there's a lot of them, and we'll get there. And 3, a few helpful pieces of advice and tips to help you guys make your own resolutions and hopefully stick to them a little bit, and maybe even accomplish them. Now, I'm not saying that there is an easy way to do this, and I'm not saying that there's a super difficult, you just gotta discipline yourself way to do it. I'm here to say that there is a mindset, at least a mindset that works for me, and there's plenty of other mindsets that may work for you. I would like to share with you the one that I have. Also, if you're looking at this video and you're thinking to yourself, wow, how very 2013 YouTube influencer of you. Shut up. First of all. Second of all, you're right. And third, I didn't really get to enjoy that experience of that era of YouTube, okay? I was one of those shitty little edgelords that desperately wanted to avoid anything popular and mainstream, and I'm suffering for it now as an adult because I actually would have liked a lot of the things that I vehemently protested because they were fun for other people to do. No, I will not be doing that. How dare you? I'm much more cultured. So I had no friends. But that's okay, because as an adult, we are undoing some of the negative habits and such. So to start, I would like to share with you the resolutions that I made for myself at the beginning of 2022. I made 6, which sounds like a lot, but when you hear how many I'm doing for 2023, it's gonna sound like nothing. And I would also like to share with you whether or not I accomplished them and in what way. So like I said, I set for myself at the beginning of 2022 6 resolutions. I'm not counting. This is one hand. Now I'm counting. Woo! Just imagine I held up 6 fingers on one hand and I was like, eh. Number 1 was to save $2,000. Very, very boring, very basic. Just build a savings of $2,000. I am so bad with money, period. So I wanted the base minimum kind of goal for 2022, and that was just to save $2,000 so that in an emergency, I would be able to cover myself. And we'll come back to this because I kind of succeeded. We'll see. 2, I wanted to do fitness. Somehow. Very basic, very bland. I know. Shut up. Listen, sometimes things are cliche because everyone likes them. My 3rd resolution was to completely move out. At the time that I made this resolution, I was living in Laramie, Wyoming. Things didn't exactly go the way I wanted them to for that, but I'll tell you why in a second. Number 4 was to go back to school. I lived across the street from the University of Wyoming at the time, and I thought, you know what? Might as well get my bachelor's while I'm here. We started this one. Number 5 was to get therapy. Regular therapy. I just figured it was about time for me to start working through some of my trauma. And number 6 was nice and simple. It was just to read 50 books. So let's start at the beginning, shall we? I don't remember what order I went in, because this part I didn't write down. It doesn't matter. It's fine. Whatever. I'd actually first like to talk about therapy, okay? I looked at therapists in my immediate vicinity. I looked at counseling with the University of Wyoming and asked around about that. And I just really didn't see any options that I could A, financially afford, or B, that I really wanted. I thought that my mental health was not going to be best dealt with by seeking out a professional therapist in this particular case, because I would have been putting more stress on myself to pay for it. And on top of that, I would have had to drag my introverted self out of my shell every time I wanted to try and work through something. That's not the way I function. That is perfectly suitable for many people. Therapy is a good option for everyone. But not everybody is ready for therapy at the same time, and I was not ready for therapy. However, I do consider this resolution accomplished, because what I did instead was I started taking a focus on my own mental well-being. And not in like the trendy influencer way of, I'm just practicing some self-help today. I'm just, eating an avocado and fucking myself. I don't know. But I mean like setting up boundaries, taking conscious steps to be a little bit more mindful. I did a lot of yoga, I did meditation, and these are obviously not fail-safe cover-all fixes, but they helped. And that's all I was looking to do at that point, was to help start steering myself into a direction that was a little more healthy, so that eventually I would be able to get to the point of being ready to speak to an actual therapist. And while we are not there yet, we are getting close, which is good. 2022 resolution completed for 2022. It's an ongoing thing, obviously, but I feel good about the progress that I made on that resolution in 2022, enough so to say, hey, I did that. The next one I want to talk about is school. Like I said, I was across the street from the University of Wyoming. I lived in an apartment right across the street from it. I thought, wow, that's probably a good idea. And yeah, it probably would have been. I applied for the university and I did get accepted. And when I got the acceptance letter, I was not financially in a place to accept it. I was not mentally or emotionally in a place to go forward with it. And additionally, I was planning my move back home. So it really didn't make any more sense for me to go to the university. But since my goal was to start looking back into school, I sort of consider that one an accomplishment because I did something. Again, that's the only thing I can really judge resolutions based off of. I don't know about everybody else, but for me, I just want to make sure that I did something. Something significant that shows that I made an effort and sometimes even demonstrates progress. And I mentioned moving, so let's come back to number 3, my resolution to fully move out. This one actually morphed about halfway through the year. About halfway through the year, I realized I was no longer happy living where I was living, and I missed home. I missed the East Coast. All of my opportunities were here, in addition to my friends and family. I did not feel at home in Laramie, so I decided to go through with a full move back home. So I came back home, and in that sense, I did completely move. So I counted this one as an accomplishment because I did something, and I did something that needed to be done at the time. So that brings us to number 4, my savings goal. I wanted to have a savings of $2,000. That was kind of where I wanted to be hovering for the majority of the year. And for a little while, I was getting close to that amount. I did not reach $2,000 in my savings because living alone in any situation is difficult and expensive, especially when you're waiting tables, even when you're waiting tables at 2 different jobs like I was. But still, it was beyond my capability at the time. But I was still managing to get kind of close. However, things changed when I invested in a car so that I didn't have to walk everywhere on foot in the middle of Wyoming winter. And I count that as a worthwhile investment. But additionally, I then succeeded in accomplishing one of my other goals, which was to move home. And that was a bit of a sudden, unexpected situation. So it did end up draining my savings to get back here, and it was necessary. So while I did not succeed in building the constant savings of $2,000 that I was hoping for, which is pretty unrealistic for anybody my age in this scenario, in this economy as it is, I also had to use my savings for exactly what I was saving up for: an emergency, an unexpected situation that arose and required funds. I succeeded in saving the funds that I needed in order to succeed on that. So I count this as a success. I certainly did something, and then I had to do another thing with that something that I did. I think I already mentioned my fitness goal, but evidently that was the only one that I really consider as not having succeeded, because it was very on and off. I did something, but I did not accomplish the goal that I had set for myself, which I'm talking about the bare minimum goal. I really didn't get there. And that's kind of a problem that I have had with fitness as a goal altogether. But you know what? I do still kind of consider it a success because for the majority of my time that I was living in Laramie, I was walking everywhere. I was burning a ridiculous amount of calories just because I had places to be. Lugging a suitcase all the way to the fucking laundromat. Like, so you know what? I'm changing my tune on that. Ironically, my time in Laramie, I was probably the fittest that I have ever been. And I wasn't very fit, but I was fitter. I need everybody to understand that I'm a very body positive person. This goal only exists because I personally had issues that I wanted to address in terms of stamina and just feeling out of shape. Pretty happy with how I look. There are plenty of things I could fix, but like, I am somebody who has a lot of confidence in the way that I present myself, the way that I appear, etc. I am not saying that anybody needs to be skinny. All I wanted was to have the stamina to be able to do things like theater, like drag, like walking to and from work without being super duper winded all the time. And because of my previously bad habits, I did not have that stamina. I improved that stamina a lot while I was gone, and it's gotten worse since I got home. So you know what? We made some peaks and valleys, and we'll get to the fucking resolutions for this year. And then the last one that I would like to talk about is my goal to read 50 books. Needless to say, because 2022 was stressful, I did not accomplish that. But I did manage to read 20 of the 50 books that I had hoped to accomplish. And that's almost half of them. Almost. More so, it's almost 2 books per month. And given how stressed and busy I was for the entire year of 2022, I consider that a success. More so, I kept a list of all of the books that I successfully read. And while that really wasn't a lot for an entire year, 2021 was even fewer. I probably only read like 5 to 10 books over the entire year, just because it took me so long to finish them. And that was when the pandemic started, so it really should have been the time to buckle down and read, but I was stressy and depressy, so there was not a whole lot of actually getting myself to sit down and cuddle up with a book. And that's okay. 2022 was certainly an improvement, and 2023 is going to be even better. So now, I would like to get into my resolutions for this year. Now, you're gonna have to bear with me because this is a pretty substantial fucking list. And that's because I'm a psychopath, I guess. I have here 13 resolutions that I have made for the new year of 2023. I don't expect to 100% completionist finish everything. What I want to do and what I think should be the goal to accomplishing your New Year's resolutions is to make progress, is to do something. I think that's really the only secret that there is. It's just managing to set a goal for yourself and do the best that you can to make an effort to get somewhere with it. And that is exactly the mentality I want you to all keep in mind when we go over this list of 13 New Year's resolutions. So, I will start with some of the ones that are continuations of my previous 6 from 2022. First of all, we are rehashing that saving money goal, obviously. I want to build a savings. We're setting $2,000 as the goal again. However, I am also having incremental goals to get me there. So I have sort of checkpoints at $500, $1,000, $1,500, and $2,000 in my savings. That's the goal, is to get somewhere on that list with them. The next one that is a continuation of the original 6 is to read 50 books. Just rehashing the same one. I am doing my best. I've already gotten a start running because I'm halfway through 2 books that I started in 2022. I'm counting them based on finished. So when I finish them, we are putting them on here and we're moving on. I am hoping to read the 50 books, and I've done the math for that. It's gonna be tricky. It's between 4 and 5 books per month, which is basically a book a week. I don't know about you all. I have never had that in me. I would like to have that in me, but this is also going to include finding some shorter books so that we can kind of get through some of them. This time, to help me get there, I have also used the incremental system. So I have checkpoints for 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 books. hopefully that will help me kind of mark my progress and be like, ooh, it took me a long time to get to this checkpoint. I better pick some shorter ones, or I better pick some ones that I know I'm gonna breeze through because I really want to read them, as opposed to ones that have been on my list for a while that I want to give a chance, you know? So that's number 2. I completely breezed over one of my resolutions from last year, which was to do more crafting and do more sewing. And I very much succeeded in that. If you've been keeping up with this YouTube channel or my TikTok or my Instagram, I've been making and wearing a lot of looks and doing a lot of crafting for props and hats and complete garments. So that one is a rousing success. That's probably the most successful resolution I had from last year, which is exactly why we are bringing it back this year. But we're getting a little more specific. So this one, I have a couple goals for. As far as sewing, I want to learn how to fully read patterns. This may surprise you, or it may not. Based on who I am, you may have already guessed. I'm not very good at using other people's patterns. I don't know how to read patterns. I have a vague idea, but I've never been able to put it into practice. So that's my goal for this year, is to learn how to actually take any pattern and be like, oh, here's how this works. This is no longer scary. I can do it. I just want to make patterns less scary for me. Ironically, it is a lot less scary for me to throw shit onto a mannequin and be like, yes, sew it together, Frankenstyle. That works for me. That's great. And I want to keep that, obviously, but I want to expand my horizons by learning how patterns work and applying them. Along the same line with this goal, I would like to learn how to make an entirely new kind of garment, a type of dress or pants or shirt or sweatshirt that I have never made before, so that I can add that to my repertoire of brand new skills of, one of 3 or 4 base designs that I have in every color. And then the last part of this third resolution is to learn 3 new crafting skills, period. It can be a new sewing technique, it can be a brand new crafting technique, period. I just want to learn 3. Or, this one's 2-part, I can either do that, or I can take 3 sewing courses. I have some options here, and I wanted to make sure that I gave myself options because that's going to be the only way I really have any chance of accomplishing these. The 4th of my 2022 goals that I am rehashing is to completely move out. I am going to be 29 years old this month, and I love my family, and I recognize that a lot of people in the same boat as me, we're just kind of in an era where it's difficult to actually move out of your parents' house and stay out. It's unfortunate, especially for anybody who is in a creative or performance field. It's harder for us to find regular work. Bills are higher than they've ever been, and inflation has just devastated our chances. There's no way any of us are ever going to own houses unless we get super fucking lucky, which means it's going to be difficult to succeed in this resolution, and that's why I'm taking it very tentatively. I just want to make progress towards moving out. And I think this is the same thing I said in the last time that I made this resolution in one of my videos last year when I was working on something. Might have been when I was working on my Harvest Queen dress. So I just want to try and make some progress to not having to live here when I'm 30, because I love my family. I love my childhood home. I recognize that the odds are sort of stacked against me here, but I'm still setting the goal anyways that I have something to work towards. So we're gonna give it another try this year. This time maybe with a little more research. Google your landlords, y'all. The 5th of my rehashed resolutions, as I guess we'll call them, is to find some solid form of fitness. Might be the gym, might be dance classes, might be running outside, might be Zumba, I don't fucking know. Whatever it is, something. And it can be several somethings. I just want to make sure that every week I am doing some physical activity and it's something that is long-standing enough for me to want to do it. You hear every single one of the things. It's like, if you don't love to do it, then you're not going to do it. I want to find as many things as I can that I love, which means I'm going to try a lot of different things. I might try some different sports. Listen, I haven't tried it yet. It's worth a shot. Now, for my resolution for therapy, I am still not at a place in my life, where I feel financially stable enough or personally comfortable enough to see a therapist. It's just not for me yet. Someday it probably will be. Someday I'll be able to take that leap, and someday I'll be able to afford it. However, Today is not that day, and I have a pretty good sense that none of the 365 days in this upcoming year of 2023 are going to be that day. So instead, my goal for this year is to make 5 of those books that I read personal self-help books. I know, how very chicken soup for the soul of me. Shut up, they help. I read a couple while I was in Wyoming, and they actually did a fantastic job of helping me to recognize and understand and ultimately change some of my problematic behaviors. And I feel better as a result of it. Not cured by any means, we got a lot of work to do, but in continuing that work, just to make sure it stays fresh in my mind and I don't forget anything, I would like to read 5 self-help books. Now, I'm willing to adjust this format to make it, documentaries, seminars, maybe a class, maybe a free therapy session, I don't know. But whatever it is, I want to make some progress, and that's sort of the tangible goal that I have set in order to make any sort of forward momentum. And it's something, so I'll take it. So that is all 6 of my original resolutions. Now, are you ready for the remaining 7 that I've assigned myself for this year? 'Cause I'm not, but we're gonna be. The first one is one that was already on my list anyway. I want to complete all 31 of the Inktober looks that I designed over the course of this past October. I loved them, and I've made progress on them, and I just want to keep myself going with that, so I decided to make it a resolution so that I could sort of keep tangible track of it. So far, I've completed 2 of them. Not terrible, not great, but not terrible. I've got 2 more that I've just finished and that I now just want to put together and present. That's a solid start, And that's all I'm really looking for. Similarly, with the previous resolutions that I've created these sort of incremental systems, I have done the same with my Inktober looks, just so I can keep track. So every 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and then when all 31 are complete, I will have completed that resolution. But every time I hit one of those goals, I'll feel a little bit better, which is it's nice, because it's not that hard to get, 5 or so of them done in a period of 1 to 2 months. So it's not bad. I think it's a lot more doable than I initially thought. And while on the subject of creative pursuits, I would like to talk about my next resolution, which is one with writing. For those of you who don't know, I actually went to school for creative writing. I also went to school for theater and business administration, but, writing and theater were the ones that I liked. And I have associate's degrees in all 3. Has that done me any good? No, fucking of course not. Of course it hasn't. Why would it? But nevertheless, I have over the past couple years put my writing degree to good use. More specifically, I have been writing a story based on my time in the pandemic, through my stay in Wyoming, and coming back home. And my goal for this next year is to complete the first draft of this pseudo-autobiography situation. It may never get published, it may never be seen by anybody other than me, but I've really enjoyed writing it, and I really want to finish it, because that is another form of therapy, and it helps me with my therapy resolution, because getting it all out there, putting it all out into the world, or even just onto your computer screen so that you can look at it and be like, all right, we did that. It feels good. It feels gratifying. When I started writing it, I had to pace myself a bit because I was just going and I was like, this is not sustainable. So we're gonna make it sustainable. Keep it nice and simple. I just want to finish the first draft. I've made a lot of progress on the outline, and we're almost ready to start the first draft, so this seems like a good time to get started. Give myself a full year to do it, and we'll go from there. Now, as you can probably expect, that is going to be fucking exhausting, as are a lot of these resolutions, so I'm going to need some sort of way to relax. Which brings me to my next resolution. Some of you may know already, and many of you may not, that I am a big-time gamer. I'm not good, and I don't play the games that are this is what gamers play. I've never played a Halo game, and I never plan to. I'm glad for everybody who does. Have fun. Good for you. It sounds like a cool story. It's not my cup of tea. This is coffee. So, I recently got interested in building your own gaming PC, and I thought that would be a fun thing to try to get started on this year. There's a lot that goes into it. It's expensive. It's a long-term project, which is why I'm only starting. My goal for this year, for this resolution, is simply to get started. I want to buy a couple of the pieces, the less expensive ones. I want to research thoroughly beforehand what is going to be the best fit for me. And, you know, I have a sinking suspicion that this might end up being something that I might enjoy doing as sort of a hobby, building and customizing the situation that I have from my gaming experience. I mean, as it is, I've got my little laptop that's handling things over here right now, but obviously that is a temporary situation. He's only got 5 games in him right now, and that's as many as he can hold and then some. Actually 6, because I just downloaded a very small one. And he's chugging along, he's doing a really great job, but I can tell that it is stressing him out. So the sooner that I can take some of that weight off of him, the better. So this resolution is one that's a little less important, but has the potential to be very fun. So I'm glad. Most of these resolutions have been like work so far, so it's nice to have one that's a little more just chill. That's an important aspect of writing your own resolutions. I think that you should take into consideration the fact that you're going to be exhausted trying to complete them. So fucking relax. Give yourself something fun to look forward to. These are fun. Changes that you make in your life are really exciting and cool. Speaking of things that are very exciting and cool, I recently performed, as I have mentioned, in the New York Renaissance Fair as the court jester, John Pace, the Bitter Fool. I was very, very proud of it, and I had a lot of fun. And one of the fun things that I got to do during that entire progress was the Royal Archery Tournament every fair day. I got to shoot in the tournament a couple times, and I remembered how much I love archery, how much I've always looked up to archers in fiction, how much I've always played a ranger or some sort of ranged combatant that usually uses physical damage. But then also, as much as I, shit on sports, that's kind of a sport that I really like. And this also stems from my fitness resolution as well. But I would like to get my own archery set and actually practice. I have found a set that I think I would like. It's a 25-pound bow situation, and it's about 120 to 125 bucks it typically goes for. So I'm going to save up for that, and then I would like to actually start doing stuff. So across the board, it just seems like a great thing to add into my list of interests. And while on the subject of my list of interests and hobbies, I also want to take tap classes. That's right. Tap classes. I have wanted to learn to tap dance for a very long time. I've always thought it was so fucking cool. And I always knew that it would be something that I could be very good at if I just had enough time to learn how to do it. I'm a fast learner when I like shit, and that's shit I like. I got tap shoes during the pandemic, and I started learning a little bit on my own through a couple of those online study platforms, and then also just YouTube tutorials. And it was a start, but I'm the kind of person that needs hand-on teaching experience. I need somebody to walk me through it and correct me as we go. And a friend of mine actually does tap classes. He is wonderful, and it's like 20 bucks a class, which is not bad. Not bad at all when you think of how expensive dance gets. And since I already have the tap shoes, I figured it was a perfect time to finally sign up for those classes. Because I signed up for them a while ago and I still have the $20 credit, but I never actually used it. So I would like to actually use it. And the last 2 resolutions I have are one abstract and one concrete. The concrete one is that I'm in the world of drag now. This isn't necessary, but I want it. I want to learn how to do a split. I want to get flexible enough to be able to do one. I may never do one ever again once I succeed, but I want the ability, And plus, if I succeed, I'll be insufferable. I would never stop. Fucking splitting in the middle. I'd be like Logan Paul back when it was harmless. Back when he was just splitting in sidewalks and tripping people instead of hanging around suicide forests. Anyway, so I want to learn how to do a split, or at least progress towards being able to do one. I want to be able to do one on both sides too. So we're gonna do what we can. We will see where we get. So that's the concrete goal. My last resolution, and the one that is the most abstract, and more so the one that influences all of the others, is to develop personal discipline. Now here's what I mean by that. I am the kind of person who has never been able to force myself to do anything I don't want to do. Part of this comes from the fact that, I was in gymnastics for a little bit. I never took dance classes. I did Little League once, and I never stuck to anything, which means I never stuck around long enough to learn the discipline that so many people learn at a very young age. So this sense of personal discipline is something that I have wanted to instill in myself for a long time, and I've tried plenty of times, and ultimately failed each and every single one. So this year, I would like to make a conscious effort to develop a sense of personal discipline, not necessarily force myself to do things I don't want to do, but develop the mental fortitude to finish things that need to be done. You know? This happened a little bit over the last year. Living on my own in a place that I was entirely unfamiliar with did instill in me a sense of discipline, and since returning home, I have lost a little bit of it. Not much. We're still net positive from where I started, but it's less like we got here and then we came back to here. So this is great, but I want to get back to here and then I want to push back. Back, forward, push on, push onward. I would like to just feel confident in my ability to accomplish things that I have set as something that needs to be accomplished. Most of these goals that are on my list here, I've started before and not been able to follow through on. So, whether or not this resolution is successful is going to depend upon whether my other 12 resolutions are successful. That's why I put it here, is because it is sort of the sum of its parts. I have an incremental gauge built in as to whether or not I succeeded in it based on whether or not I succeed on all the others. I think that's pretty genius, okay? I don't know about you. I think it's pretty genius. Especially because it's not really my idea. I'm sure I picked this up somewhere. But so those are my resolutions for the year of 2023. I know I just talked on and on and on, and I hope that some of this helped you guys to sort of take a look at what you wanted your resolutions to be, as well as remind you that your resolutions can morph, they can change. That's sort of my tips and advice here. I've touched on it a bit throughout, but your resolutions should not be static because your life is not static. You as a person are not static. You're always changing. The world around you is fluctuating at any given point, and your goals for the year, for a finite amount of time that is going to contain a whole world of experiences, should be able to adapt to those changes and run with the times. So that's my biggest piece of advice to you guys. I feel confident with my resolutions from the past year because in many ways I did accomplish them, and that's because I adjusted what my expectations were. Where I lack personal discipline, I make up for in being able to go with the flow of things, in being able to adapt to situations that are unlike anything I've experienced before. Hell, I moved by myself 2,000 miles away and succeeded for the most part for the majority of the year. Shit hit the fan, obviously, but, I managed. And that's okay. So, my final parting words of advice for you are to not take it too seriously. Resolutions in general are a silly, fun idea. They should not become work. So if you want to better yourself this year, do it. And if you don't, don't. And if you're on the fence, be on the fence. Nobody's telling you to make a decision, okay? This is the problem we had with bisexuals all over again, okay? Stop making people choose shit. Anyway, next time I see you, I hope that this will be gone, and I hope that this will be gone as well, in a positive way, in the sense that we've accomplished it. But also, I'll see you before the year is out, so I guess that doesn't make any sense. Point is, I'm happy to have you all. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be alive. Little things like that. Gratitude. Being mindful and shit. I also want to do more yoga. That feeds into the fitness one. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like drag or me, or if you just want to spite somebody that dislikes all of those things and more, then consider subscribing, hitting the like button, leaving a comment, hitting that little notification bell so that you get notifications every time I post a video. I post videos most Mondays, and it's just going to get more unhinged from here. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope to see you next time. And my name is Daisy Mays, and I'm wishing you some happy days.